Thanks, Geoffrey. Thanks, Susan. Yeah, I am indeed David Pinder, CEO of Baxi Heating, and I was fortunate enough to be invited to chair the steerco, which was tasked with developing the prospectus discovery to delivery. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today to participate in its launch. As Geoffrey said, I've been a member of the NWBLT now for quite a long time. Not sure, Geoffrey, quite how long. I think it's something like 10 years. I'm delighted to say as well that I've been really impressed with the way that the NWBLT has changed, adapted over that period to remain, in the words of probably Simon Cowell, remain relevant to its audience. And that's really important because we've seen a really big change in the political landscape from the power and decision making being in the regions to a significant amount of centralisation, and then the latest trend, of course, to see an element of devolution and that power and decision making finding its way back to the regions, but in the form of the LEPs and the city regions rather than the regions per se. And that gives the NWBLT a real purpose because it brings together the whole of the northwest of England with one business leadership voice. So over the last couple of years, the NWBLT has found expression of that voice in the form of commissioning 4 very important reports on thought leadership, covering the areas that are very topical at the moment, areas such as skills, transport, our essential resources, and science, technology and innovation. Now, each of those reports has been very well received. I think it's important to say that the reports also include recommendations, commitments and calls to action. So looking specifically at Exploiting the Excellence, which is a report that focused on science, technology and innovation, the body of the report looked at pulling out what the Northwest really has to offer in those 4 areas. And we summarised that the Northwest has 4 great areas, and the great 4 for us were advanced materials and molecular manipulation, easy for me to say, energy research, including nuclear and nuclear engineering, cancer research, high performance computing and digital manufacturing. So those were the 4 key areas that it pulled out as being real strengths that the northwest of England has. But in addition to that, we made 3 commitments. One of those commitments was to promote the resources and the assets that the northwest of England has in the form of a prospectus. And the conclusion of that particular deliverable is with us today. So delighted to say, having been a joint chair of that steering committee, that we're now delivering on that particular commitment. So absolutely delighted that we're able to do that today. One of the other commitments, which I think will probably be next on our agenda, Geoffrey, is that we want to make the conditions in the northwest for tech-based SMEs really suitable to help them to grow and develop and thrive. So there's another challenge for us in terms of the task force to deliver against there. Okay. As I said already, one of the key deliverables was to deliver this prospectus. The role of the steering committee, I think, was to make sure that this prospectus added value over and above the original report. And I won't say too much about that other than to summarise that what we were looking to do was to make sure that the northwest of England was shown in the best light, and to make sure that it was that we captured the fact that it is much more than simply the sum of its parts. So that was one of the key themes that we wanted to express in Discovery to Delivery. I'd like to thank my fellow members of the steering committee for making sure that this is delivered. I'd like to thank Accenture for all the hard work that they did. They did the lion's share of the work in pulling this report together. But I'd also like to say that really this is just the start. because having delivered the prospectus, now really the work begins, because we have to make best use of this prospectus to ensure that we use it to best effect to attract additional investment into the northwest of England, and to ensure that those who are currently based in the northwest of England want to stay here and continue to invest. So that was all I wanted to say.